In case you guys don't know, when an MP comes to another constituency, we actually have to inform the MP of that constituency. Just give them a heads up, they're coming. And so I had to send Lisa Nandy an email. And something tells me she's not a big fan of mine. In fact, very recently she tried to smear a whole load of us in Parliament as anti-Semites because we said racist Israeli football fans shouldn't be allowed to come to Birmingham and wreak havoc. And in fact, not just that, I also said that we should boycott all Israeli teams because until Israel comes to account for genocide, for apartheid, we should treat Israel just the same way we did South Africa. She didn't like it. But this is also the same woman who's also taken donations from David Cogan, who is also interestingly now appointed the independent football regulator. So all the cronyism we used to talk about the Tories, the Labour Party is just the same. But it's a pleasure to be here, Lisa Nandy aside, and solidarity if she is your MP. We need to change that, obviously, at the next election. I'm sure the next MP is in this room on this panel, so yeah, the hope is with you. But I've never been to Wigan before. This is my first time, so thank you for coming out. This is a town that is incredibly inspirational. Wigan's history is one of resistance, from the pit strikes to the fight for fair wages. You have always stood strong. And when the far right and the politicians have tried to divide your community here, you have stood shoulder to shoulder, united. And it's the same forces that try to divide us today, by the colour of our skin, the religion we choose to follow, by the languages we speak. But we know that it's not race, religion or language that divides us, it's power. The same power that shuts down youth centres and calls it efficiency and fiscal discipline. The same power that records record profits for energy companies while families struggle to put heating in their homes. And when you look around, the skyline has changed. But who is it really changing for? It's not working class communities who are struggling. And politicians and developers will toast to regeneration, but it's not regeneration, it's theft. And today we channel that anger against inequality, against racism, against fascism, and for a socialist future that belongs to all of us. The truth is, people are angry. If you knock on doors in Coventry South, if you knock on doors in Wigan, people are angry and they have every right to be. In fact, they should be bloody furious. Furious that life keeps getting harder while wages stay the same. Furious that energy companies are literally dumping shit into our rivers. Energy companies are also recording record profits and people are choosing between heating and eating. Furious that it takes weeks to see a GP, months for a mental health referral, and years for a council house. Furious that our communities are told, you must tighten your belts, and I'm sure that's what Rachel Reeves will say in a few days' time, while billionaires are literally blasting themselves into space. And furious that we are constantly told there is no alternative to this cruelty, this chaos, this inequality, that somehow this is the best that we can do. Well, I'm here to say, no it isn't, there is an alternative, and it's called socialism. But millions have lost faith that politics can actually deliver for them and their families. They look at Westminster and they see it as a playground for the privileged. Ministers more concerned with getting freebies to see Sabrina Carpenter than whether families can put food on the table. They care more about the ministerial car and Zone 2 dinner parties than actually making a change to people's lives. They talk about hard choices, yet the hard choices are always about everyone else and never for themselves. So trust is broken. We all know that in this room. And in that vacuum, the far right has grown. But let's be clear, Reform, Nigel Farage, they are not the answer. They are another wing of the establishment. They are funded by billionaires, by aristocrats. They are fronted by a millionaire stockbroker who, if you read in the news recently, has a well-documented history of anti-Semitism that he needs to be held to account for. This is a party that peddles racism, Islamophobia and division, not to solve any of the crises we face, but to distract us from who's really responsible. Their message is don't look up. Don't look up at the landlords hiking rent. Don't look up at the corporations dodging tax. Don't look up at the energy CEOs making millions. No, they tell us, look sideways. Blame your neighbour. Blame the refugee. Blame the Muslim. It's an old trick, divide and rule. And we as a movement are not going to fall for it anymore. But the rise of the far right didn't happen overnight. If you look across Europe, you will see that years of politics as usual, neoliberalism with just a different coloured rosette has laid the groundwork for this. We have been told there is no money for housing, there is no money for free school meals, there is no money to scrap the two-child benefit cap, there is no money for the NHS. Yet somehow there is always money for war. Why is that? Why is there always money for war and never for the poor? Somehow, politicians find the magic money tree when it comes to bailouts for corporations and tax breaks for the super wealthy. And at the same time, they scapegoat migrants and they blame minorities. Politicians tell us blame other working class people, because otherwise you might find yourself blaming the real enemy. Establishment politicians that lick the boot of the billionaires. Rupert Murdoch, Michelle Mone, Elon Musk, the royal family. And since we're talking about the royal family, we shouldn't just abolish Prince Andrew's titles, we should abolish the monarchy itself. The result of this corrupt billionaire system is clear for everyone to see: the biggest fascist mobilizations we have seen in decades. Racist thugs marching in our towns, women and children assaulted for the colour of their skin, and in my home region of the West Midlands, 2 Sikh women raped in racially motivated attacks. And I spoke at the anti-Tommy Robinson demonstration a few months ago in London, because it's really important that we understand you don't stop fascism by ignoring it, you don't stop fascism by copying it like the Labour Party, you stop fascism by fighting back. And 80s, the Anti-Nazi League drove the National Front off our streets. That's the unity and courage that we need again. An anti-fascist league for the 21st century. And of course, that means our trade unions stepping up. It's not enough to just put logos on banners and leaflets. We need coaches and people flooding the streets, because when the fascists show up, we show up. We know that the far right thrives on fear and division, turning neighbour against neighbour, worker against worker. We defeat them by offering hope, but also making material improvements to people's lives. We know people don't need culture wars, they need secure jobs, they need affordable food, they need warm homes, and they need a future for their children. And yes, defeating fascism at the ballot box is a priority. But where necessary, we fight the fascists in the streets as well. So what is it that we're fighting for? Well, it terrifies the establishment, but it's something we know is beautiful: socialism. That's not tweaking a broken system, that's just not a wealth tax and lowering some bills here. It is a fundamental transformation of society that replaces capitalism with democracy in every workplace, every community, every corner of life. Workers controlling the means of production, communities controlling the wealth that they produce. That is socialism. I'm very proud to be a socialist, and we should all wear it as a badge of honour. Because you'll find people on TV, on the radio saying, we shouldn't call ourselves socialists, we shouldn't use class politics, it turns people off. That is absolute nonsense. People are not turned off by class politics, they live class politics every single day. Because it's class war when bills rise and wages don't. It's class war when landlords evict tenants without a second thought and bankers get bonuses. It's class war when there are more food banks in our country than McDonald's restaurants. It's class war when 50 families hoard more wealth than half of the population. It's class war, and it's about time we won that war. You've got rising inequality, you've got fascism growling at the door, and what is the Labour Party doing? Well, whenever I talk about the Labour Party, it's like talking about a toxic ex. Everyone's moved on, but you still want to talk about it. Well, this Labour Party has become truly unrecognisable under Keir Starmer, a party of corporate lobbyists and billionaire donors, a party so anti-socialist it is McCarthyite, and they won a huge majority on a pitifully low vote share. And what have they done with that? You might say nothing is actually worse than nothing. They are actively destroying the country every single day. They refuse to scrap the two-child benefit cap, condemning hundreds of thousands of children to poverty that could be ended overnight. They've attacked pensioners and cut winter fuel payments. They've cut disability benefits. They've watered down a workers' rights package, and they've attacked our civil liberties, labelling people of conscience opposing genocide as terrorists. To be clear, they are heroes. The real terrorists are this Labour government and the Israeli government who have committed genocide. And earlier this week, as Ian said, the Home Secretary Shabana Mahmood introduced new proposals attacking migrants, including seizing their belongings, deporting entire families, including children, to countries once the government deems them safe, making people wait 20 years before they can apply for permanent settlement. This is a Home Secretary who used her own experience of racism to attack some of the most vulnerable people who have fled war and persecution. Shame on her, and shame on this Labour government that continues to attack migrants rather than making people's lives better. After all, the fish rots from the head, and the Prime Minister, Keir Starmer, echoed Enoch Powell and said, "We are an island of strangers." Shame on him and every Labour politician that went out and defended that fascistic language. We are not an island of strangers. We are an island that is suffering. We see the rich and powerful laughing at us, and we're done begging for crumbs off the table. We are here to take what is ours. We are taking the bloody lot. And that's why we've come together to build a new party of the left, your party, because the billionaires already have 3 parties. Isn't it about time the rest of us had one? And others have said it on the panel, this cannot be another Labour party, a Labour 2.0. We cannot tolerate a party and a culture that leaks to right-wing journalists, issues legal threats, bullies, intimidates, and also sabotages deliberately. Before I went on BBC Question Time last Thursday, there was a deliberate attempt to sabotage. I will not tolerate that behaviour. The movement will not tolerate that behaviour. That is directly from the handbook of the Labour right. It is disgusting, and it has no place in our movement. We are here building a movement that fights for change. We are not here to manage capitalism more politely. We want to replace it. Because we understand the problem isn't just a few greedy companies or a few bad bosses. It is a system that will reproduce inequality and exploitation. A system that puts profit before people, greed before humanity, and militarism before peace. We want a world where the economy serves society, not the other way around. Where no one goes hungry, no one sleeps rough, and no child grows up poor. And only socialism can lay the foundations for genuine equality, genuine freedom, and genuine dignity. That's what I want your party to be fighting for. And socialism doesn't recognise borders. We stand with the oppressed everywhere, from Congo to Sudan to Palestine. And let me say clearly that if we fight for it, your party will be an anti-Zionist party. Because you cannot be neutral on genocide, you cannot normalise apartheid. And just like South Africa was treated under apartheid, Israel must be treated as a pariah state too. That means severing all ties, all diplomatic relations with the genocidal apartheid state of Israel. That means expelling the ambassador. That means shutting down the embassy. And it means standing with Palestinians until every inch of their land is free. A single democratic state from the river to the sea with equal rights for all. And it is our duty to ensure that there is a day of reckoning for those who have enabled genocide. Keir Starmer, David Lammy, Shabana Mahmood, and the rest of them. We will not rest until they are held to account in the docks of The Hague. But we also know that peace isn't just the absence of bombs, it is the presence of peace. And so justice means freedom from military occupation, from apartheid, and equality for all. It is our anti-imperialism that makes us fight for those, but it's also our anti-imperialism that makes us reject the myth that NATO promotes peace and security. NATO is an imperialist war machine that profits from death and destruction. If you just look at Afghanistan and Libya, endless NATO wars that have made the world less safe, not more. So you cannot greenwash NATO, and every pound that is spent on missiles, tanks and bombs is money stolen from our homes, our hospitals and our schools. So we demand wages, not weapons. We demand welfare, not warfare. And a socialism that doesn't centre the most marginalised isn't worthy of the name. That means defending trans people loudly and unequivocally, saying trans rights are human rights. The rise in transphobia we are seeing is deliberate. It is being stoked as a culture war set to divide us all. And just like with Muslims, just like with migrants, just like with disabled people, the goal is always the same. Find a scapegoat so you distract people from who really holds power. And our movement has to say, we are not playing that game. We stand with trans people, we stand with disabled people, we stand with migrants, we stand with Muslims, we stand with the most marginalised, because our power lies in our unity. We are the majority, and when we move as one, we are truly unstoppable. And with 50,000 members, your party is already the largest socialist party since the 1940s. That is incredible. But we also must make it the most democratic socialist party in modern British history. And that's why I've got a few demands in the run-up to conference. I've already shared them online, but I'm going to quickly run through them. Conference must be the supreme decision-making body with all representatives bound by its decisions. It is not advisory. What conference passes, MPs and councillors must enact. What members decide is binding on all elected representatives. Leadership and structures must be accountable to members. That means having an executive committee election before the end of the year, and every single position for that committee must be open. There must be no reserved positions for councillors and MPs. Open selections must be what we have for all candidates, with mandatory reselection and the option to recall, because that is democracy. Membership should be inclusive, and our role is to unite the whole left. That means allowing dual membership, that means lowering the age to 14, that means allowing people who live abroad to join as international members, and it also means that young people aren't treated like tokenistic figures just to make a photo look more interesting or to ask someone how to make a good TikTok. Young people should be allowed to organise with a well-resourced youth section, and we should also have a democratic autonomy for Wales and Scotland. And our local branches can't be treated like call centres during elections. They must be given real resources and data so they can organise locally. That means 50% of membership subs going directly to local branches. Members also must choose the leadership model, and that, whether that's sole leader, co-leader or collective leadership, that's not for me to decide, that's for you to decide. And all elections, internal and candidate selections, must operate under transparent STV-based systems. We must have transparency, we must have a financial audit, and we must elect our General Secretary and Treasurer. All amendments across assemblies that have received 25% of support must be published and accessible. All amendments from regional assemblies must be published and accessible, and any amendment that receives 25% of support across assemblies must be put to a vote on conference floor. Those are some of the key democratic demands, because ultimately we want maximum member democracy. We are not here to build a party that is led from the top, where whatever the leadership say, we all just salute and say, yes, we will do that. We have to build a genuinely democratic party, but that is a fight that we must all be part of. The truth is, we can build a movement strong enough to challenge state power, a movement that can dismantle the rotten establishment, confront capitalism and imperialism head on, and build a society rooted in equality and dignity from the ground up. We know, our movement knows, that change has never been something that comes from above. It has always been one from struggles from below, whether that's the right for women to be able to vote, whether that's the NHS, whether that's our workplace rights. We as a class have fought for those. They've been led by trade unions in our communities, and every right, every gain, every bit of progress we're proud of has that origin. Because power doesn't lie in Westminster, it lies in our trade unions, it lies in our tenants' unions, it's in our climate movement and the fight for Palestinian liberation. And if you look around the world, what I'm talking about isn't a fantasy, it is already happening. In New York City, Zarah, oh, this has died, that's okay. In New York City, Zarah Mamdani, unapologetically socialist, unapologetically Muslim, unapologetically immigrant, united New York and its working class around a campaign that proved what is possible when we have clear demands that make material difference to people's lives. With over 100,000 volunteers, with over 100,000 volunteers, they knocked on more than 3 million doors and made over 4 million phone calls. They defeated billionaires, pro-Israel lobbyists, and a political dynasty, building power from below. That victory gave hope to not just New Yorkers, but to all of us, because it shows that when we organise, when we believe, and when we mobilise, we can win here too. So thank you for being here. I've been speaking at over 30 events over the past few weeks, and I feel so much hope when I walk into rooms like this. Over 800,000 people, like Vicky said, expressed an interest in your party when we first made it public that we were building a new left-wing Democratic Party. Those people haven't gone away. Many are waiting, many are watching, many are ready to fight. What's more, public opinion is already with us, against war, against genocide, for renationalisation, for workers' rights, for properly funded public services. What we have to do is build a united movement to bring those struggles together. Because as the trade union slogan goes, united we are strong, united we will win. We know that working class people can run society better than the billionaires, the profiteers, and the war criminals that rule over us today. So the crises are immense, but so is our potential power. If we organise, if we build, and if we fight, we can beat back the far right and build a society rooted in peace, justice, and equality. This is a historic moment. This task that is before us is truly historic. It's gone again. That is the potential of your party. So thank you for being here, but that can't be your only contribution to the struggle. If you haven't already joined, you must join the party, at yourparty.uk. You must get active locally, whether that's your local trade, that's your trade union or your local tenants union. You have to be building the power that we need to fight back. Because if you want change, if you want socialism, you bloody have to fight for it. They are going to make it very hard for us, and we've already seen that. But I've never been more certain of anything than this, that if we fight, we will win. The choice is clear, just watch the news or scroll on your social media. It's socialism or barbarism, and we must choose socialism every single time. Yeah. Finally, just a quote from me, because I've been talking for quite a bit of time and I wanted to hear all of your questions. It's just a quote from Arundhati Roy, who says, "Another world is not only possible, she is on her way. On a quiet day, I can hear her breathing." Thank you so much.